Hello, Hathorians, and welcome to another edition of Leadership Forum. We're joined by Hathor Labs co-founder, Jan. Jan, how are you doing today?
Very good, Neil. And you? Thank you.
That's nice. Yeah, I'm doing well. I'm doing well. Thanks so much for asking. I know we just caught up off camera and talked. I'm doing extremely well here. We've been busy to say the least. I know you've got a busy week ahead of you, and we thought it would be a great time to kind of catch up with the community. I know the main topic we're going to be focusing on today is going to be based on privacy, something we touched on towards the end of last year, and with the all new roadmap. And yeah, you've touched on it quite a bit, but today we hope to dive a bit deeper, get some understandings on privacy on Hathor. Not to give too much alpha now, I'll leave you to do it, but it's really exciting what you've been telling me. Aside from that, since it's been a while, tell me how you've been. I know, we're in a bit of a bear market at the moment, as you know, as an industry. And yeah, so it'll be great to tell the community what you've been up to, the team you and I have been up to as well, and how things are going on Hathor.
Yeah, I mean there is no way around it, right? The market is kind of a bad situation right now, but we're kind of used to it, right? We've been here for a long time and always building. Nothing's changed on our side. Our team keeps basically the same. Yeah, from my side, I've been mostly researching a lot about other protocols and what's been going on, especially on the privacy side. As you said, we discussed this a bit late last year and around the Nano launch. And I think if you go back to the last time we talked, you remember that I think I said that privacy was, not to kind of take the steal the attention away from Nano launching. I tell you, privacy is probably the thing that I'm most excited about, and I'm still am. So yeah, I've been doing a lot of research on other privacy protocols. What Hathor's been doing, and defining how we're going to work to make sure that we have something that's going to be great. And we'll talk about this, yeah, shortly.
Yes. Yeah, before we get into it, I actually wanted to mention that you will be at the Merge this week in Sao Paulo, which is quite a big crypto event for the region. So I guess you'll be there for a few days this week. And yeah, no, thanks for touching on that. As you
Yeah, I
said,
mean, I'm home in Rio today, but I'm not sure if today or tomorrow when this episode is released. Yeah, I'll be in São Paulo for the merge. It's more of a corporate event, I'd say, a bit different than let's say Token 2049 or a few others, but it's more corporate. Here in Brazil, it's where adoption is happening. Yeah, excited to see what's going on, and yeah, to be honest, with air travel a bit disrupted. So we were talking before here. Token 2049 was canceled in Dubai in the next month. Yeah, it's good that we have events very close to home.
100%. Yeah, as you know, I'm actually based here, guys. I'm doing well. Yeah, Token is cancelled, but there's still a lot of local events happening here as well, and a lot of projects are actually gearing up for the second half of this year, which is quite a strong event season in the UAE. So hopefully things get back to a bit normal now. It does seem normal out here, but yeah, you're absolutely right. Going to the local events is great. And yeah, to touch on that as well, institution is where it seems to be at anyway. A lot more corporate, so it'll be interesting with privacy, everything as such we have to offer at Hathor as well. Opening some discussions there and seeing what can be done. But yeah, without further ado, let's get stuck into actual privacy. Something that, like you said, something you may have been a bit more excited about over Nano. When Nano is finally a chapter, and it's when privacy, yeah, when privacy. So that is the new meme, right? So yeah, I wanted to kind of start about like we'll go through like section by section, I guess. The questions here going from different layers of the journey of privacy. And I guess the first thing I want to talk to you about why privacy actually matters for crypto adoption.
Yeah, at first, I think it's kind of on the original ethos of crypto, right? Privacy, and if you go back to Satoshi's ideas, it's also always talking about individual freedom and privacy. And we know that blockchain is far from being private, right? The opposite. A while back, I was discussing with our AML officer in the Caymans, and he was telling me, yeah, if you receive any money coming from traditional banking system, there's not much we can do. We'll send them a form, and they're going to fill it out with information about, the money coming in and all of that. But if you're receiving payment in crypto, then we can use analytics tool and get a lot of information, out of this, transferring the addresses. So crypto, so far is far from private, and people have this idea, crypto is just used for doing this shady activities and all that, but the reality is far from that. So uh, from a personal point of view, let's say with the original ethos for blockchain and cryptocurrencies, I think it's very important. I like to be more private in my transactions. A lot of discussion, not getting into that, like Brazil, blocking people's personal accounts and all of that. And I think that's something that's very common around the world, more and more, unfortunately. So there is this, line that you have to say, okay, it's good that we have more privacy in our transactions. But more importantly, we're just talking about, corporate adoption, and that's kind of a must for them. We've been able to get by retail adoption without privacy, but for corporate adoption, that's kind of, yeah, they're not going to come if this is not there. So I've seen this firsthand here in Brazil, because you had the Drex, which was hailed as one of the most advanced and anticipated CBDC projects. And it was tough. I mean, obviously, there's also political factors, but the major technical obstacle was lack of privacy. So they weren't able to do privacy at scale, let's say. So, and that doesn't comply with regulations. Not only regulations, but if you talk about companies, they're not going to do the trades and the purchases and all their transactions out in public blockchains if it's all there for competitors and everyone to see. So, really, we do need privacy for corporations to start adopting blockchain technologies. We've seen this, they are more and more adopting it, but kind of, yeah, we need to find a solution for this problem before they can really jump into blockchains. And we know that they won. We see more and more companies, like you have Stripe launching their own layer one. You have, a lot of other big companies that are meddling with crypto, but they still need a good solution for privacy before they can fully adopt it.
Amazing. Yeah, no, thanks for running on that. Actually, I was going to segue into a response, but actually, it actually fits into your the next section, so I'm not going to. But yeah, like as you said, and as we're going to talk about existing privacy solutions in the next section. But yeah, when you talk about things like Drex and real adoption, you know, things actually do need to be private. And as we segue anyway into the next section, it's amazing to see how things can kind of unfold once this technology is truly live and what it means to be truly live. So actually, the next question touching on that is what it means to be truly live. So the question is why existing privacy solutions are not ideal. So talk to me about what we have in the market at the moment with other chains. I guess the ones that people really mainly know about are like the likes of Monero, Zcash from the top of my head, and some that are in research stages. But I like from the research that you've been doing with the team at Hathor Labs. Tell us about what you think about existing privacy solutions.
Yeah, I'll talk first about the existing ones that, as you mentioned, Monero and Zcash, and then we can talk about the other ones which are in the development. Zcash and Monero, I mean, first, they're amazing. I cannot understate that, right? They're really nice, and they work very well. Obviously, they have some obstacles and things that could be improved, but I think the main problem for them and why they're not a good solution for general adoption is they only have their own token. So if you're on Monero, you have a ZEC, and with Zcash ZEC, and then with Monero you have Monero as well. And then you can only transact those, and they are very volatile because they are cryptocurrencies, right? You cannot transact stable coins on them. You cannot create MWAs on them. So that's kind of, I think, one of the main problems. Probably the main problem. Other than that, there's also some UX and UI challenges with, I think, Zcash especially. You have different types of addresses. You have shooting and shooting transactions. It's kind of a bit confusing for the user, and they've been improving on that, but it's still not to the point where normies, can use this technology. So, yeah, as I said, I think the biggest obstacle here with the two coins is you only have their native assets that it can be transacted privately. So then that's not good enough, right? People want to trade stablecoins, RWAs, and these other things, and create their own token. As I said, before, with privacy on Hathor, you can create your own token very quickly and start transacting it privately. So that's going to be amazing.
Yeah, absolutely. And you talk about Zcash and Monero. I guess they Zcash, from what I know, they always had some sort of like privacy. For they've always been considered as the privacy coin, but you mentioned that it's really kind of directed down to the token. I guess the token itself. I guess the reason why I'm asking that is the next section is about Hathor's approach and how it's different. Um, you've spoken to me a bit about it, so I don't really want to give it away. I'd rather you say it. Our approach is a more of a composable privacy. So if you could tell us about um, Hathor's approach, um, that would be good. Mainly based on the fact that we spoke about actually I'm not going to give too much away. It's almost like I'm going to say your bit for you. But comparing to other chains, as you mentioned,
Mm,
um,
Yeah.
quite
Yeah, I
smart.
mean, as I said, like Monero and Zcash, they are kind of first generations. People like to give out names and classifications. So you could say like Monero and Zcash are first generation privacy coins, and you can only trade their native tokens. And now that everyone is rushing into privacy solutions, there's a lot of research and a lot of other chains that are uh, researching solutions for privacy. But there are a lot of obstacles here. So mainly, most chains, the way they do tokenization is you need smart contracts for that. Which is not the case for Hathor, right? In Hathor, you have native tokenization, but for other chains, tokenizing, creating a token is basically creating a smart contract. Doing a token transfer is invoking a smart contract function and transferring tokens from my account to your account. So whenever I transfer tokens, like let's say USDT on Ethereum, basically it's a transfer function where it reduces my balance and increases your balance. But it's a token, it's a contract function anyway that's being called. Even though it's super simple, it's a contract function. You have the balance, which is a global balance for everyone, like a global dictionary with my address. It has this balance, your address, it has this other balance. What's hard to do privacy for these other chains is because they are smart contract chains, and you need to do privacy for the smart contracts, which is a shared state that everyone is running the same function and everyone has the same shared state. And this is super hard. There is no good solution for this yet. As I said, everyone is rushing into this. You have a lot of ideas. T's a trusted execution environment, which is more on the hardware side. You have, a lot of downsides there. You have maybe zero launch proofs, which is, people have been working for a while, and I think it's kind of the most most well-known name out there. You have some downsides to it as well. You have MCP. You have fully homomorphic encryption. As I said, I have been researching a lot this over the past few months. But the main thing here is this is still all on research stage, and people are coming with very interesting and innovative ideas, but everything is still on research and kind of very early. It's going to take a while for it to get there, in terms of being usable. What sets Hato solution apart is we're using something that's different because our architecture allows it to be different. We are not an EVM or smart contract network, right? You have nano contracts where you can do smart contracts on Hathor nowadays. But for tokenization, creating tokens and transferring tokens, you don't need smart contracts. And we are what we call UTXO chain. Basically, it means that a token transfer is not a function call. It's basically you send tokens and you just need to make sure that the sum of the inputs of a transaction equals the sum of outputs of a transaction. And why it makes it easier for us is because you already have mathematical functions that can work on encrypted data and making sure that the sum of something is equal to the sum of this other something, and it can work on encrypted data. So instead of putting the data plain text as we have right now, you can go to the Explorer and you can see the inputs and you see the outputs. You're going to have the encrypted data in the inputs and the encrypted data in the outputs, and you already have mathematical functions like for the longest time where you can work on these encrypted values and make sure that the sum of the encrypted values is equal to the sum of the other encrypted values, right? So that's a token transfer of Hathor. It's not calling a function that you have to, do calculations on encrypted values that you don't know what you're going to do on this function. It's basically this, right? So because Hathor is this, our token transfer is this subset of an operation, which is much simpler. You already have mathematical functions that work out of the box. Let's say it's been researched for the longest time, and so we can use that. So again, to kind of sum up, on other chains, smart contract chains, basically it's kind of research. It's still on the research stage where you need to do operations on encrypted values, like very complex stuff. On Hathor, basically it's simple. You have sum of inputs equals sum of outputs. This already exists and it's proven and it's stable, and that's what we're implementing. We have the RFC, request for comments, live, and everyone can see how we're going to go. And I think that's kind of the main difference. It's very straightforward how we're going to do. It's already said there is no research involved, let's say. I mean, that's like small research in terms of UI, UX, and how to implement it on Hathor. But I'd say that the mathematical foundation is set. There's no research there.
Would you say that? So privacy is almost like native. It's native, right? Like because so the two questions I have is tokenization you mentioned is native to Hathor, and the way that privacy plugs into us, because we're factoring it in at some stage now, but we're factoring it based on the model that we're UTXO chain, and it just kind of the word I'm thinking about is the structure already there to kind of
Yeah, it works better, right? As I said, it's a simpler architecture, and then privacy works better there because again, when we did Hathor tokenization, we didn't try to do so for a general solution, which is what you have with smart contracts, right? With smart contracts, you can create the token and do whatever you want with it. With Hathor tokenization, basically, we said, okay, people just want to create a token and start transacting it from different addresses to different addresses. And so it was a simpler solution. And then to do privacy on this simpler architecture is kind of easy, and it's already kind of proven, right? Instead of I need to do privacy for this distributed computer, which is what EVM and other smart contract chains are, right? They're distributed computers, and to do privacy on that, it's much, much harder, and that's what is in research stage. While on Hathor being the simpler chain, you can, you already have some functions that are proven to work.
so I'm not going to ask you for any alpha and dates and stuff like that because you kind of basically told us that.
Yeah, sorry. I think probably Marcelo is going to be able to dive deep into it and explain it better, but I'm trying to keep it very high level.
Well, yeah, no, you've done it. You've done great because I guess from my understanding from this short talk we've had, where privacy is in the industry right now, and I think you mentioned it before, which is before I was kind of trying to interrupt what you were saying, but now you've said it. It's like everything's very research stage, as you said. When you're looking at chains and how they're built traditionally, and you look at the smart contract factors of some of these chains which rely on smart contracts and so on, to be truly privacy throughout all these layers becomes extremely difficult, right? But for Hathor and us being a UTXO chain, it's super simple. So we kind of bypass that type of research phase because you and the team already know how it's going to work. You're not reinventing the wheel in terms of processes, the structures there. So I guess it's quite far along compared to any particular
Yeah,
other
and it's
journey.
it's 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 not like a trade secret, right? As I said, we have the RFC
Versus
out.
live.
People can see how we're going to do it and how it's going to work. And I think it's important, right? Because talking about how it's going to work in practice as well is that people are going to be able to hide the amount and also the token, and they can switch. I mean, amounts are always going to be hidden if they want to, right? You can always continue sending transactions plain, let's say, unshielded as it works right now. But you can always hide the amounts, or you can hide the amount in the token that you're sending. So it's kind of it's a very easy model to think about, and kind of that's needed. What's needed for most use cases.
Cool. So Jan, we've touched on why privacy matters. Yeah, we've touched on who's doing it in the market. Like we touched on Monero, Zcash, and so on. We've talked about our approach, but we all know as well for true adoption, you really do need use cases, right? For us to be able to use this technology. So my last question is based on use cases. What use cases do you really see benefiting from the likes of Hathor? Let's say a chain like ours is, tokenization is native, privacy is now becoming a norm for us or in the near future, and some of these other use cases as well. Because we also understand some of the bigger chains as well. They also need to be private as well. They have some sort of market share. They need to. They'll probably be
Yeah.
more.
Well,
Yeah.
Well, let's talk about the main use case for blockchain technology. I mean, apart from, let's say, Bitcoin, is stablecoins, right? And yeah, it's really interesting what people are going to be able to do with private stablecoin transactions, right? You can start doing, let's say, payroll on chain. Yeah, even paying for online shopping. You have like agentic payment. It's a big thing right now, but you can have encrypted agentic payments. That's going to be awesome as well, right? Because imagine if Amazon, everyone can see how much Amazon is making, right? Income real time. That's very different because they have to release quarterly statements, but they can disclose the data that they want, not instead of oh, everyone knows real time how much Amazon made this last Thanksgiving season, right? It's very different. But if you have confidential transactions, then you have online shopping that can be done on chain, right? Apart from, let's say, stablecoins, you have tokenized real world assets. You can have private credit. You can have, private credit payment. Let's say you can have their shareholder payments done on chain as well, without having to disclose how much that amount is. So, I know basically everything that you already do nowadays offline, I'd say you can do on chain because it's going to be confidential. People are not going to be able to see it. So, I mean, it's again, I keep coming back to the idea that you can just create a token and start trading it privately. And I think that's a very powerful thing to do.
Definitely, definitely. And I haven't actually got this question asked here, but I wanted to ask you it based on the existing, tokenization we've got on the network. Like we've tokenized over 200 million on chain with various different asset classes. Um, so that was able to be done, I guess, without privacy. But how do you see it kind of expanding from that? Or do you feel like more asset classes will be introduced in terms of the real world asset type of industry with
Well,
privacy?
I think they're going to be able to do more stuff with these tokenizations, right? So if you look at the tokenizations that we had, they had to overcome some obstacles, let's say, to put this on chain, especially because of privacy concerns. You cannot see all the trades and see what people are doing on chain with it. So they have to maybe do a lot of the transfers also off chain and not record everything on chain. But with, privacy solutions on chain, now you can do every trade on chain because it's just much easier, and not because just easier, but because you can comply with regulations, right? There are a lot of regulations I know here in Brazil in terms of what information can be disclosed with every trade. And you cannot do this before. You couldn't do this before, have everything fully on chain. But now you can, because you can transact fully privately. Again, you can choose if it's just the amount or the amount in the token. I think it's gonna depend on each use case, but now you're gonna have the tools to do everything 100% on chain.
Time, right? Yeah, no, thanks for covering that. I guess you've covered most of my questions here I've had on privacy, and I know, as you said, when it comes to more of a technical analysis, we have the technical platform for that. Uh, but yeah, like Jan, any parting words? I guess you've kind of given us a bit of alpha that privacy on Hathor is very different. The RPC is now live. Everything's quite transparent on how we're going to do it.
RFC.
Oh, sorry, not RPC, RFC. Sorry. Yeah, so the RFC is live. Yeah, anything else you'd like to share? I guess you've kind of shown us that privacy is definitely solidified. It's definitely past a research type phase, uh, uh, um, advancing a lot quicker than other chains. So that's great to hear. Anything else that you'd kind of like to share on privacy or in
No, I
general?
mean, I think for privacy, just that it's not something that we're doing just so people can keep their, hide their activity. I think there is a lot of value to that, right? Don't get me wrong. Here in Brazil, I think there's a lot of value to that, and with governments trying to step in and regulate more and more. But it's also again about making sure that the corporate can really adopt blockchain, because real financial applications that they need this. And one other thing that we didn't talk about is making sure that you have privacy, but uh, you can also follow regulations and disclose
Yes.
information to regulators and when asked. So that's also a very important thing about not just hiding the amount, let's say amount in assets, but making sure that whenever the regulator comes and asks about something, you can disclose information on a way that you're not just giving him your private keys, because otherwise it could control the assets, but making sure that you can disclose information without giving him the control. Kind of that's what important, right? It's not just about hiding information, but making sure that you're going to enable especially financial applications on chain. What we're going to have with privacy on Hathor is we're taking this step closer to making blockchain usable for the real economy, right?
Yeah, so having an option of being able to unshield and shield, I guess why shielded TXs may come with that type of analogy, that to unshield when needed for regulators and so on. Is that something that other chains have as well, or at research phases they've not got to that stage, or is that something that we've thought about in terms of when we do
Well, I
that?
mean, if you research about this, you're going to see that everyone's talking there. Yeah, there should be a way for you to disclose information, but there is no clear path to it. Let's say there's no one is, at least they are not saying how they're going to do it. They just say that this is a must. You need to be able to do this, and then if you read the RFC, you see there is a path to do this already, and kind of it's very clear how to do it.
Yeah, so not RPC guys, RFC. So I guess I'll be sharing this RFC with the community for those that want to kind of have a look and take a look. And yeah, no, you've touched on it extremely well. Thanks for going through obviously the unshielding and shielding process as well. That's also super important to regulators and institutions or financial applications, as you've said. But Jan, there's one thing I wanted to touch with you based on before we part ways, and it's actually on the newly announced Hathor Forge. I know it's privacy aside, just to kind of give the community some insights onto what it is and why it exists.
Yeah, sure. It's a way for you to run a local Hathor network without any work for setup. So basically, out of the box, it's going to run a full node for you. It's going to run a transaction miner, even a block miner as well. It's going to run wallets, and I think not more importantly, but as importantly, also run some AI assistant tools. So basically, you can point your AI tool to this, to the Hathor Forge, and it has an MCP server. MCP, yeah, because I talk about MPC for privacy, but it's MCP for the AI tool. So it has an MCP server where your AI tool can query it and understand how to control and direct the network and how to write smart contracts as well. So basically, it's a tool. So out of the box, you already have a Hathor environment running, and you can also use it with your preferred coding AI coding tool to start creating stuff, making transactions, sending funds, and all that. So it really makes lives easier for developers. Well, not just developers, right? But nowadays with AI tools,
I
not
was
just
gonna say,
developers can code. So yeah, it's for anyone who has an AI tool.
it's amazing that you said that. Yeah, like because now with the likes of like Claudebot, and as you said, this is a type of skill, right? Like a Hathor skill. So anyone can really now plug into this, forge their own chain. I guess that's the analogy between the forge, behind the name Forge, and start testing in an environment, a blockchain environment like its own chain. So no, thanks for sharing that. So yeah, Jan, you've touched on everything on privacy. Thanks for everything there. I guess any final words you'd like to share with the community before we part
No,
ways?
just again with privacy, create token, start trading privately. I think that's kind of the ultimate infrastructure for your economy. So super excited about this.
Super
I
excited.
think I'll be writing. If you look at my ads, it's all about privacy, right? So yeah, super
Because when
excited for
privacy, yeah, when privacy, guys, yeah,
that.
Nano is most bullish on privacy, even above Nano. So I guess like you said, and as you started with this leadership forum, it goes back to the core beliefs as crypto guys. Having the whole decentralized nature of the industry we had entered, and also having control of assets, time, everything, right? So yeah, it's really nice that actually the privacy use case it goes back to the ethos of what our core beliefs are, but also is a key to true adoption, which we've seen with these institutions, that private blockchains and private transactions are needed. So it's a great time for the industry. But
Yeah,
guys,
man. I mean, again, I can, I'm super happy about it. And when you asked me what I've been doing the past few months, that yeah, and mainly researching about this and making sure that our solution is like great UX as well, because it's important and we can tick all the boxes for the real world economy.
well, yeah, Jan, again, thanks again to the development team. I know you guys have been working throughout this year, really busy. Just a message from myself to the community as well. We appreciate everything that's going on, especially with keeping yourselves busy with Nile Swap and the NFTs. Even me, I've kind of been delving into getting some NFTs and stuff. So I appreciate you guys keeping busy there. And we'll aim to keep you guys busy with some of these new deliverables Jan's speaking about and so on. Again, we've announced a new roadmap that touches on privacy as well. So if you haven't seen that, we'll be resharing that again, so you guys can kind of have a look, and we'll bring you more updates as and when we have them. But other than that, Jan, thanks for joining today. It'll be good to have you again soon. Maybe in the chats. I know you've been in the chats recently and so on. Maybe a small AMA at some point to give us some alpha on what's happening on the network. But other than that, thanks for your time, and we'll see you on the next one.
Yeah, the pleasure. Thank you. Stay safe.
Thanks.